Too many people, blood fans of the show, and castles alike. Severance is the next big thing. Sadly to me, I don't see it in the same way. I actually think this season was not as good as the first, and that's opinion I'm going to tell you about today, whether you like it or not. This season has a deep, a bit slow character building, and it's not always entertaining. We're working in episode 7 because it is tense and shows the backstory to Mark Scott and Gemma's relationship. It does not work as well in episode 8, where you feel everything is put on ice, and you feel you might as well could have gone straight through where episode 7 ended. Instead of having this backstory to Miss Cobble, which she had only been in the show about 3% after the season up until that point. She only had like 1 or 2 scenes as she tried to get her job back and also ran away in a court when she was rejected. Naturally, as the founder of the overtime contingency and the Glasgow Black, she seems like an important part of the company's history at Lumen. But this episode could have come much earlier in the season. Much of this season is spent on the spaces where you see the Innes on this quest to explore more of the world they do not know, like Blue Sky, Snow, and 6, which leads us to the next reason why this season is not brilliant in the sense of the word. That is something called episode inconsistency, which also happens in shows like The Penguin or Shogun, 2 shows that are also undeservedly placed like hell. Of course, we see that in Severance as well. Only blood fans will disagree about that. As the whole season starts a bit slow in the intro episodes, number 1 and 2, where Mark suddenly has lost his team. Then in 3 and 4 and 5, it gets a bit more interesting, but Rose Hollow in this sequence of episodes perhaps is the best one. This nature episode where it is revealed that Helen Egan has gotten undercover by using this Glasgow Black that hinders the switch from out to in. They act as if she's Haley Orr, but also because she is jealous of Mark S. and Haley Orr, and they have sex in the tent at the retreat. In this episode, in addition, it is very tense when Irving almost drowns Helena and reveals that she actually has been an addict for the whole season. Therefore, he is punished by being deleted as an in, and Milkshake shows his assertiveness as a leader. Then you have got episodes 6 and 8, where the first one feels just like a delayed Valentine's Day episode where nothing really happens, and the last mentioned episode 8 has this very boring episode with Miss Coble, which she hides under a core for half the episode, which is an episode that puts everything on ice before the main goal called Harbor. The 7th is by and large pretty interesting, with his backstory. We see how Mark and Gemma met and how Gemma died at the end, which is a very tense episode where you also see a trap in the section with the 25 different rooms. Episode 9 is a lot better when Mark and Miss Coble is working with Devon to get in and Mark to save Gemma, which is pretty tense, where Mark calls in sick to Mr. Milchik. Irving's after goes away after a few words with Bert. Mark and the others also go to this cabin where Innes and Altus can talk together. The final episode, number 10, is better, but far from as tense as the final one in season 1. A lot happens, and a lot is revealed about Miss Casey/Gemma that basically is clown all the time. It is revealed that Lumen is killing goats to mix their DNA with humans, and it certainly looked like Mr. Drummond had been mixed with the goat himself. During the fight with Morg AS, basically called Harbor's 25 files, that all makes a new inner for Gemma. That's why we see all these rooms in the hallway. We see a large portion of recorded messages between the inner and outer of Mark, where we see that they both are equally egoistic in their approach and fail to understand the situation of each individual. It all ends when Mark S has to take this impossible choice between saving Haley or Gemma, but if he saves Gemma, all the inners will die, to put it in simple words. That's why he tries to save Haley Orr, and as the clock ticks out, we do not know if he managed it or not. The episode is by and large a decent finale, but compared with the last episode in season 1, where there are multiple storylines at once, this final is not even close when it comes to intensity. A fact reason why I find it at times difficult to get through this season comes in the way this season is drenched in romance. You got the developing relation between Haley Orr and Mark S., the hijack relation between Helena Egan and Mark S., you got the complex one with Gretchen and the innie of Dylan, where they eventually end up kissing. Irving and Bert on the dinner with the husband of the last mentioned character in a very cringe episode 6. In that one, it does not happen anything in the progression of the story where Haley Orr also wants to experience sex as she wants to have her own experience of it. Therefore, she finds a tent for her and Marquez. A further comment I have to give about this season is how this show at times feels badly explained. Severance is a confusing show where we often have a long arc where they keep us in the dark and reveal nothing, and other arcs where they basically reveal almost everything. This time, a lot was thrown at the viewers in a few episodes where everything was about Gemma, where she was the whole file project known as Cold Harbor. It was also about these goats being sacrificed in addition to the Glasgow Black and Helen Egan's undercover run. Nevertheless, a lot of it was never explained. Why did they do this to Miss Casey? Why is this cabin the only place where innocent outers are able to communicate outside of Lumen? Why was Mark not as affected by reintegration as Peter? What did Peter do wrong where Mark did it right? Why didn't we ever know why Miss Wang came to the seventh floor in the first place? Who even is this girl? Okay, yes, she was part of the fellow Taiwanship or something like that, but why? Why did Miss Cobble decide to go against Lumen? What did she gain from it? There are just so many questions I had after season 2, now which have not been addressed in a satisfying way. I would, of course, also like to see more of why these other different characters like Dylan or Helena decided to get severed in the first place. Perhaps also even Burke or Irving. Well, actually, all of them were on Mark's best team. A positive plus inside this season is the character Mr. Milchick that really tested his leadership qualities this season under massive pressure from Ward. In this season, he brutally stood against the leadership of the company and has had a really strong progression, unlike some of the other characters. After all I've said now, I consider season 2 to be a letdown after waiting for 3 years from 1 to 2. Of course, feel free to disagree, but whatever other people may think, I hope season 3 will be a lot better.